4 games left, no more bye weeks. It's time for predictions. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't do Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. This may be one of the best weeks of football yet, Grossi. And today, we are going to be breaking down and predicting each game in Week 15 of the 24-25 NFL season. Last week, it was not as good as the week before. After only getting one wrong, we're back to our okay ways. I went 8-5 last week, bringing me to a 136-72 record, and we have not one, but 2 new leaders on top of the Pick'em League. We got Ryan McFadden with a record of 156-51, and we have Hurts good again, ? With a 156-52 record. A big shout out to the both of you for leading the top of the Pick'ems. Like I said, we got 4 games left. Let's get into it. Starting off on Thursday Night Football with an NFC West showdown, you got the LA Rams taking on the San Francisco 49ers. The Rams, oh boy, what a freaking fracking game. Josh Allen had 6 touchdowns, but it did not matter because the Bills just had to watch Puka make play after play.
How do you do that? How do you do that? What the hell is going on?
Puka Nacua is a good player, hot take, but the Rams able to knock off the Buffalo Bills on Sunday in an amazing performance by that offense, by that team as a whole. And listen, the Rams have been inconsistent this year. I love Jared Verse on that D-line. Matthew Stafford is still a very good quarterback, and when Puka and Cooper Kupp are healthy, it could be magical. However, I don't think a lot of people anticipated them winning that game, but for the Rams, that might be the momentum shift they need to propel them into the postseason. However, you got a team standing in their way, and that is the San Francisco 49ers. The 49ers, I cannot overstate this, dominated the Chicago Bears. How bad? They had over 300 yards of offense while the Bears couldn't even muster 5 yards of offense in that first half. They looked like their old dominant selves against Chicago. And listen, the 49ers have had a rough go of things, whether it's been injuries, whether it's just been lack of consistent play. They have not been able to have the season that they want. And I know some 49ers fans are looking at this team going, okay, are they back? Maybe. I don't know about that. I think against the Rams, they have a good shot at winning considering it is a divisional game. And as we have seen, especially this season, divisional games, they be crazy. However, the Rams coming off a big win, I'm going to side with LA to get the win here. I just think that their defense should be able to put pressure on Brock Purdy. Again, no Jordan Mason, no CMC. Debo Samuel has not been having his best year. I think the Rams, if Puka and Cooper Kupp can get involved early in that game, should be able to get a win against this defense. And so because of that, I'm going with the Rams to get a win, getting them one step closer to the postseason. And 49ers, yeah, I'm just sorry. Well, not really, because you hurt me all the time. Then you got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Chiefs, they did it fracking again. They survived in dramatic fashion.
The dark side of the Force is a pathway to many abilities some consider to be unnatural.
I'm telling you, the refs were just holding on to the upright. That's the only reason why it doinked in. But the Chiefs able to get a game-winning field goal against the LA Chargers this past week. And when it comes to the Chiefs, I know that there's some folks who are upset that maybe I even put them at number 5 in the power rankings. They're still a top 5 team. They clinched the AFC West, so they don't have to worry about that. They're going to get a home playoff game, and they're still in line to get the number 1 seed in the AFC. While their wins have not been pretty, at the end of the day, they're still winning football games, and that's all that matters. They're taking on the Cleveland Cleveland Browns, who lost to the Steelers this past Sunday in that rematch. And the Browns offense, oh man, it was humming when they were facing Levi Wallace and the Denver Broncos, but not so much against the Steelers. And for Cleveland, similar to San Francisco, it has been a disappointing season. And while I'll always love Nick Chubb and that defense will always be pretty damn good, the Browns, they're going to have some decisions to make in this offseason, and I imagine that's going to include pursuing a quarterback. Taking on the Chiefs here, it's going to be interesting to see how both these defenses respond. Of course, the Chiefs, their offense has not looked amazing this year, and the Browns, they're just not consistent because you have Jameis Winston as your quarterback. Here, though, I got to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. It's hard to pick against them. There's going to be some tough games ahead for Kansas City, but I think they will be able to take care of what Cleveland throws at them. Who knows? This could wind up being a very low-scoring game with both these defenses, but overall, I'm rocking with the Chiefs as they continue to dominate. Well, they'll probably win by 3 points. Following that, you got the Cincinnati Bengals taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Bengals! You did it! The Kitties finally had one go their way.
That was a close call, huh, Goosey? Huh?
To beat Dallas off your own punt, that's pretty amazing, even for Bengals standards. But the Bengals taking care of business on Monday Night Football against the Dallas Cowboys. And talking about disappointing seasons, it has been all the disappointment for the Bengals. The defense has been atrocious. The offensive line hasn't been good. Joe Burrow's been playing his ass off. And yet, their playoff hopes, there's barely a pulse, but they are still alive. They're going to be taking on the Tennessee Titans, who they lost to Mac Jones last week, so that's how things are going with Tennessee. And Will Levis, I'm still not closing the door completely on him. He's had those flashes throughout the season that maybe he can be that guy, but the Titans, they have just been a struggling football team this year. And going up against the Bengals, when this is a must-win, I think Cincinnati will get the win here. Even though their defense is terrible, their offense, I think, makes up for that. And hey, if the Bengals were able to beat the Cowboys on a punt, they might be able to do the same exact thing here because we know that Titans special teams is not good at all. So I'm going to go with Cincinnati to get the win, keeping those slim playoff hopes alive. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, the kitty could still go meow. Following that, you got the Washington Commanders taking on the New Orleans Saints. The Commanders coming fresh off a bye, and I know Commanders fans are ready for this team to play again. Not so that they can hurt you again, but to see if they can finish the job and make the postseason. Because the Commanders, I think they've exceeded a ton of people's expectations, but over this past month or so, maybe there's been kind of this coming back down to earth period, and we're going to see how they're going to face off against the New Orleans Saints, who, listen, with Rizzy, they keep on winning games, but they also keep on losing players.
Rain fire! But sire, our troops just do it!
But the Saints getting a win over the New Jersey Giants last week in an ugly football game. And listen, for the Saints, they have so many decisions that need to be made, whether they're signing Ben DiNucci because now Derek Carr is hurt, and that's after Taysom Hill is out for the year. Things are just not going well in New Orleans. And I think that sets up the Commanders perfectly to get a big-time win here to keep their playoff hopes alive and to hopefully put some ground between them and the next wildcard contenders. And so I am going to go with the Commanders to get the win here. Hopefully Jaden Daniels a little bit more healthy returning to this game. They should be able to take care of business against the Saints, even though I don't believe entirely in that Commanders defense. The Saints offense is just not great. So because of that, Commanders win, Wildflower's happy, and the world is at peace. Following that, you got the Baltimore Ravens taking on the New Jersey Giants. The Ravens, they got to enjoy a nice bye week as well last week, not having to worry about a thing except all those AFC teams that are still winning and are trying to take away their spot. But other than that, everything is fine. They're going to be taking on the New Jersey Giants, who we just talked about, who, good God, it is a tough time. Whether it's dumpster fire banners being flown over the stadium, only fan models showing up trying to flash the Saints, which I don't know why you thought that would work. I mean, have you been to New Orleans before? But ultimately, coming down to a blocked chip field goal.
Fast forward!
Preparing to fast forward.
Fast forward!
Fast forwarding, sir.
No, go past this. Past this part. In fact, never play this again.
Yeah, the Giants are ready to fast forward to the draft, and it has been an abysmal season for the Giants. There's definitely some bright spots here, and Tommy DeVito will be starting this Sunday, but I don't think they're going to find any joy against the Ravens. The Ravens coming off that bye week, they are going to be looking to prove themselves and also keep their standings within the AFC. So I got the Ravens winning here. I don't think this will be a particularly close game. It's probably going to be a rough time for New Jersey, but hey, tickets are going to be cheap if you're in Jersey, and otherwise, Giants, it's almost over. Following that, you got the Dallas Cowboys taking on the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys losing in heartbreaking fashion on Monday Night Football. And by heartbreaking, I mean it never gets old seeing the Cowboys lose in primetime.
Want to hear the most annoying sound in the world?
Here we go! Here we go!
And for the Cowboys, their season has been done for a while. You could go to before Dak Prescott was injured, but definitely after Dak Prescott was injured, that kind of put the nail in the coffin. And I know there was some optimism that maybe they can win out a bunch of these games and make the postseason, but I just do not see that happening for the Cowboys this year. Ask Micah Parsons. He is not a happy person right now. Taking on the Carolina Panthers, who, listen, I got to give a lot of credit to the Panthers. I've been hyping them up a little bit for the past month and a half because they've been playing pretty damn well. And I know Panthers fans are a little upset because they're suffering heartbreak after heartbreaking loss, but it's one, better than feeling nothing in December, where I think a lot of Panthers fans were assuming they would be. And two, seeing Bryce Young develop here this season has been really fun to watch. I am 100% rooting for him. Canales has been doing a nice job there. And while there are still multiple flaws with this Panthers team, there's something to be excited about. And optimism has been absent from Carolina for quite some time. Heading into this game, I believe the Cowboys are underdogs, which makes sense. The way that the Cowboys have been playing, Cooper Rush is a very capable QB, but I just don't think anybody believes in that team right now. They are just a shell of their former selves on both sides of the ball. And so I am going to pick against the Dallas Cowboys here. I know that Brooks just got injured for the Panthers, and that's definitely not good, but I'm going to go with Bryce Young to elevate that team and steal a win from the Dallas Cowboys. It's being played in Charlotte. I think the Panthers, they have proven that they can go toe-to-toe with some of the better teams in the league, like the Chiefs, like the Buccaneers, and of course the Eagles, like they did last week. So I'm going to have them get a win, end the heartbreak at least for 1 week, and continue the heartbreak for the Dallas Cowboys. And maybe Cowboys next year will work out better. Then you got the Battle of the Jays. You're going to be smoking them after this game. You got the New Jersey Jets taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars. Who is going to go see this game? The Jets, for the 14th year in a row, eliminated from the postseason, and that is just a heartbreaking stat. And considering that Aaron Rodgers was supposed to come into New Jersey and fix everything, all I'm saying is maybe the Jets just need a few more of Aaron Rodgers' friends.
If more people join in, the song will get better. If more people join in, the song will get better.
Yeah, this is painful to watch. The Jets have just been the ultimate disappointment in the NFL this season. I think a lot of people, including myself, thought that you put Aaron Rodgers there, and if he's even just slightly better than Zach Wilson, which I think everybody anticipated he would be, this team would have a winning record and would potentially go to the postseason. Unfortunately, that did not happen. That defense has regressed significantly. Their offense can't seem to find their way, and while it's always fun watching Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, that connection, it is just not looking good. They're going to be taking on the Jacksonville Jaguars, who were able to pull off a win against the Tennessee Titans last week in an ugly-ass game. Trevor Lawrence is on IR. Mac Jones is the starter. Both these teams ain't making the playoffs, and this is going to be an ugly football game. I'm going to go with the Jets to get the win just because I believe in Aaron Rodgers a bit more than Mac Jones, but I imagine it's going to be an ugly one. I don't really believe in either team here, and I'm so sorry for anybody who has to have eyes and watch this game. I got the Jets winning. We all lose, and yeah, this is going to be rough. Following that, a game with a ton of playoff implications. You got the Miami Dolphins taking on the Houston Texans. The Dolphins getting an overtime divisional win against the Jets last week in a game that, oh boy, that was a little bit close. Aaron Rodgers not getting the ball in overtime again. Not like I've seen that before over and over. But the Dolphins are trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. And right now, it's going to be a little bit dicey. They won a game in December, so that's a good positive start, but they're going to have to win out if they want a shot at making it to the dance. They're taking on the Houston Texans, who are able to use their bye to get off the radar for the rest of those AFC teams.
Radar about to be jammed.
And the Texans, I think a lot of their hype and expectations have died down a little bit, but they have an opportunity to clinch their division this week with a win and a Colts loss. And we'll talk about that Broncos game. I think that is very possible. But for the Texans, I think there's been disappointment, of course, with their offensive line, the amount of injuries that they've had this season. Hopefully they've used this bye week to get a little bit healthier. And I do still believe in CJ Stroud and that offense, including Joe Mixon, who has been a standout on that team. And I think for Houston being played at home, they should be able to get a win against the Dolphins, but I think this is going to be a very good football game. I think you have two teams that are pretty close in terms of talent. We'll see if that Dolphins defense can step up against the Texans, but if Houston's able to establish the run with Mixon, I think they'll be able to get the win here. And for the Dolphins, losing in December is just all too familiar. Then you got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Denver Broncos. And oh boy, how times have changed, because 2 years ago, this was the worst Thursday night football game ever. And now, these two teams are actually vying for a playoff spot.
Hey, look at us. Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought?
Not me.
The Colts coming off a bye week, one that they desperately needed. And heading into this game, it's basically must win from here on out. I mentioned before, if the Colts wind up losing and the Texans win this week, the AFC South is done. It will have been clinched by the Strouds, and that makes the path to the playoffs a lot more difficult for Indianapolis. Anthony Richardson, again, you see the good with the bad. He's got to be consistent in order for them to have a shot at the postseason. And it's going to be tough going against the Denver Broncos defense. And I know if Levi Wallace plays, hey, Anthony Richardson might have a career game. But the Broncos, they're also coming off a bye week, and they are looking pretty damn good in that AFC West. Right now, they're battling it out with the Chargers to see who is going to finish second in that division. They have a big Thursday night game coming up a week from tomorrow. But overall, the Broncos, I've been pretty damn impressed with their play. Bo Nix, I think, has been more than serviceable, having those flashes of why he is the starting quarterback. And I think with a few more weapons on that offense within the draft or free agency, they can really start clicking. But this is a really important game when it comes to the playoffs here. The Broncos, they're also fighting for their playoff lives, and a win over the Colts would be massive in terms of the wild card standings. So I am going to go with Denver to get the win here. Again, I am a little bit shaky about their secondary, especially if Levi Wallace is going to be playing. But as of right now, being played in Denver, I'm going to give the advantage to the Broncos here. I think that they are just a little bit of a better football team right now. And with the inconsistencies of Anthony Richardson, I'm going to trust the stability of the Broncos a little bit more here. Denver gets a big time win, gets one step closer to the postseason. And if they don't, well, then Perna has cursed us all. And then, oh boy, this is football. You got one of the most anticipated matchups of the NFL season. You got the New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Oh no, sorry. You got the Buffalo Bills taking on the Detroit Lions. The Bills, a heartbreaker against the LA Rams. Josh Allen, 3 rushing touchdowns, 3 passing touchdowns, and still unable to get a win. Defense a little bit infuriating for Buffalo, but it's fine. Everything is fine. The Bills are still a very damn good football team and are still competing for that #1 seed, but a loss against the Rams does make that a little bit more difficult. They still need the Chiefs to drop a couple of games, but I still believe in the Bills here. On top of that, Kincaid and Coleman are supposed to be practicing this week, so that is a really good sign, and hopefully they will be back for Sunday's game because they are going to need everybody as they take on the Detroit Lions, who have been surging. And oh, how times have changed. The Lions are now dominating the NFC North, and the Packers, well, they're complaining about the refs.
You are a toy!
You are a sad, strange little man, and you have my pity. Farewell.
I do not like this timeline. But the Lions are looking like the best team in football. And even though they're decimated on defense, especially on the defensive line, they were able to do a nice job containing the Packers offense in that first half. And while it got very, very close in that second half, and that game could have gone either way, the Lions were able to sweep the Packers and get their 12th win of the season. And on top of that, the Lions should be expecting some help as they're going to get some returning players on that defense getting healthier. I know there was a report about Aiden Hutchinson potentially returning for the NFC Championship game, but they got to make it past this week first. And I think that this is going to be an absolute battle. I went back and forth on who I thought was going to win this game. And if the Bills were able to dominate the Rams last week, I might have gone with the Bills here. And like I said, if they get Kincaid and Coleman back, I think that is going to be a huge difference maker in this game, just having two of your top targets back on offense. But hell, we've seen what Josh Allen could do even when they don't have those players. However, I am going to go with the Detroit Lions to get the win here. I know this might not be at the forefront of everybody, but I remember on that Thanksgiving game just a couple years ago when you had the Lions and Bills battling out and the Lions almost won that game, and that was a precursor of, oh man, this Lions team could be really something. And here, I think they're going to avenge that Thanksgiving loss, getting the W here. I just believe in their offense and defense a little bit more than the Bills at this moment. The secondary's been playing really good for Detroit. And if they can establish that ground game against Buffalo with Monty and Gibbs, I think they get the win at home in front of a crazed Detroit Lions fan base. And so because of that, Lions get the win. And Bills, yeah, this is going to be a tough one. Then another phenomenal matchup happening at the exact same time. You got the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. It's the Pennsylvania Bowl, baby, as the Steelers were able to get a win against the Cleveland Browns this past Sunday. And the Steelers, they've just been moving along. They have their sights set not only on the division, but also potential #1 seed if they're able to knock off the Chiefs on Christmas Day. And things could get real interesting. Russell Wilson has never lost against the Philadelphia Eagles. And speaking of the Eagles, listen, they keep on winning games, but there's some drama inside that huddle.
Guys, I'll run the ball. You always run the ball. Why can't I run the ball?
Because you're slow and no one likes you.
Well, you can't go to my birthday. So what?
But for the Eagles, they were able to pull off a close win against the Carolina Panthers, which I know a lot of Eagles fans are not particularly happy about. But as I have said, the Panthers have been playing much better football this past month. They went toe-to-toe with some of the better teams in the league, and they did so against the Eagles. And at the end of the day, I know there's some drama right now. The most important thing is that the Eagles are winning football games. So while there could definitely be concerns about that offense, specifically in the passing game and Jalen Hurts, they are dominating with the run in Saquon Barkley, and their defense has been phenomenal. And taking a look at both of these teams' defenses, because I think this could be a low-scoring affair, the Eagles right now are 4th in points allowed, and the Steelers are 5th. Both have good rushing defenses as well, and I think this is going to be an ugly football game. But boy, oh boy, if you are a fan of defensive football, this is going to be the game of the week for you. And I went back and forth over and over again on both of these squads. I had a feeling the Steelers could get a win in an ugly game because it feels like that the Steelers don't need Russell Wilson to play perfect football to be able to get a win. And when it comes to the Eagles, if the defense of the Steelers is able to slow down Saquon Barkley, I'm actually giving Pittsburgh the advantage here. However, I am going to go with the Eagles to get the W. I went against them when they went against the Ravens, and I was proven to be incorrect. And I think if the Eagles are able to cause some turnovers from Russell Wilson or to stop Najee Harris, I think Saquon Barkley, even though going up against a very good defense, should be able to put up enough points, even if that is only 2 touchdowns, to win this football game. I think this is going to be an extraordinary game. I can't wait to have this on while I'm watching Bills and Lions. But I'm going with Philadelphia to get the win here. And if not, well, I'm sure the Philadelphia media will handle that very well. Following that, the second most anticipated game of the year, you got the New England Patriots taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Patriots fans got to enjoy a nice week off last week, not having to watch their team lose. And listen, Patriots, you got 4 games left. Drake May looks to be the guy, which is super exciting. This upcoming draft, you just need to build an entire offense around him. So how difficult can that be? They're going to be taking on the Arizona Cardinals, who had a chance to win the division, but lost to the Seahawks again.
There goes that dream. Well, I best go over there and do whatever that thing over there I was going to do was.
And listen, it's not completely over for the Cardinals, but ever since the bye week, they have just not looked like the same team. Trey McBride's been having a great season. You kind of get the ebbs and flows with Kyler Murray, and I think they just have too many holes on that roster that need to be addressed, and they were still my dark horse team. Even with all those flaws, it just seems like maybe this year is not the year. Going up against the Patriots, you have two teams that have not been at their best this year. I am going to go with the Cardinals to get this win here because I do think they are a more talented team right now, and they do have some more weapons than the Patriots offense, which is not saying a lot. And that Patriots defense has not been where it usually is in past seasons. So because of that, I'm going to have the Cardinals get a win in front of their home crowd on Sunday. It might be too little too late, but hey, you still got 4 games left, and winning one here, maybe it keeps the hope alive. Following that, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking on the LA Chargers. Another really sneaky good game. The Buccaneers able to get a win over the Raiders last week. And listen, the Falcons, they thought the South was theirs. But Baker and the Bucs are back in first.
It's already over.
Ain't nothing over till it's over.
What's that from, the 80s?
That's probably in the 70s.
And while it has not been the prettiest for the Buccaneers, and while Baker Mayfield has had some turnovers, I still really like that team. If they get that ground game running with Bucky Irving and also Rashad White, this is a balanced offense. And I know that they will win despite their defensive woes and also potentially their head coaching woes. But the Buccaneers, I've been saying this for the past month and a half. I just believe that they're going to win that division. And after what happened with the Falcons this past month, I definitely am doubling down on that. They're going to be taking on the LA Chargers, who had that heartbreaking loss against the Kansas City Chiefs this past week. And the Chargers, they're a really interesting team. Harbaugh has definitely elevated their play. Getting Joe Alt was the right decision. And without Ladd McConkey or J.K. Dobbins, their offense is going to struggle a little bit more because Justin Herbert can only do so much. And without J.K. Dobbins specifically, that rushing game really takes a hit. Gus the Bus Edwards had around 30-something yards, just like he did the week before. And J.K. is really able to get that ground game going. And without him, I'm a little bit nervous about the Chargers this week. The good news is for the Chargers that there's some optimism that Ladd McConkey will return this Sunday, which would be a big boost for that offense. And being played in LA, I'm going to give a slight advantage to the Chargers here, though I don't think it'll make a huge difference. And originally, I was actually going to go with the Buccaneers to get this win here. However, I think the defense of the Chargers has been playing well enough that if the Buccaneers aren't able to establish the run, or if Baker Mayfield throws a turnover or two, the Chargers could be able to take advantage. If McConkey plays, I like the Chargers' chances a lot more, though I do not believe in their run game right now with Gus. I do think they will do just enough to get a win here in maybe a 17-16 game. I'm going to go with the Chargers. I'm not entirely confident in that pick, but I'm going to rock with LA, which sets up an amazing showdown on Thursday night between the Chargers and Broncos, and that should be a good one. Then on Sunday Night Football, you got the Green Bay mother-loving Packers taking on the Seattle Seahawks. Oh, playing in primetime in Seattle. I'm sure that's just going to bring up great memories for Packers fans.
I was there, Gandalf. I was there 3,000 years ago. I was there the day the strength of men failed.
The Packers, unfortunately, not able to capitalize and defeat the Detroit Lions this past Thursday in a heartbreaking game that ended with a Jake Bates field goal and Dan Campbell just going for it on 4th down every single second. But the Packers, they're dealing with some injuries right now. No Jair Alexander, no Adrian Cooper, no Romeo Doubs, Evan Williams and Javon Bullard. They got banged up in that game. Bullard is considered week to week after he was walking around in a walking boot, so at least there's some optimism there that he could play. But the Packers are a beat-up football team right now. They're sitting at 9 wins and 4 losses. And that Packers offense has been playing pretty damn well. Whether it's Josh Jacobs finding the end zone or Jordan Love not throwing an interception the past 3 weeks, they're going to have their hands full going up against the Seattle Seahawks, who not only had that big win against the Cardinals, but that defense has been looking real good these past few weeks. On top of that, they were able to establish the run against the Cardinals this past week. That makes their offense look a lot better. And while there are definite flaws with the Seattle Seahawks team, especially on the offensive line, I do think that Geno Smith can pick apart teams when he is playing well. But when he's pressured, things can go awry quickly. So the Packers pass rush needs to be on point this game. They've been a little bit better these past few weeks, but still not up to the level I think that is needed. If they're able to win this game, I think it's going to be because they get pressure on Geno Smith, causing turnovers and stopping the run. Something that they've done a pretty nice job of this season overall. I think the Jordan Love showdown against the Seahawks defense is going to be perfect for prime time, and if he can limit his turnovers, I do have the Packers getting a win here. I think the way the Seahawks could win this game is if they are able to establish the run. Geno has 0 turnovers, and they're able to get pressure after Jordan Love, like the Lions were able to do in that first half on that Thursday game. So I'm going to go with the Green Bay mother-loving Packers to exercise some demons here in Seattle on Sunday night, and if not, well, Seahawks, you'll just move right back up the list of teams I hate the most. Then, the first of two Monday Night Football matchups, you got the Chicago Bears taking on the purple incarnation of Satan, the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears, well, that didn't go well last week against the 49ers. And here's the thing. They had all these close divisional games against the Packers, then the Vikings, then the Lions, and then they get their ass kicked by the 49ers. And I'm not going to lie, I would not be surprised if this winds up being a close game because that's just where divisional games are this year. They're going to be taking on Satan and the Vikings, who dominated the Atlanta Falcons in that game. And Kirk Cousins, he threw 2 interceptions to his former team.
You like that? You like that?
I like it a lot.
And the Vikings have exceeded all expectations, whether it's from Vikings fans, whether it's from the media, pundits, what have you. They are sitting at 11-2, which is an insane record. Sam Darnold has been playing really well down the stretch, and while they've been escaping some close games, at the end of the day, just like the Chiefs, they're still winning the games that are in front of them. And they're not letting the Lions run away with this division, so that at least makes it super exciting and sets up for a real important Week 18 matchup. But right now, the Vikings playing at home, they're playing really good football. Aaron Jones is playing well. Of course, you have Addison and Jefferson just being the monsters that they are. They should be able to get a win over Caleb Williams and the Bears. Last time these two teams played, it went into overtime, and Caleb Williams unfortunately took a poorly timed sack that wound up losing them the game. Here, it could come down to a field goal once again. I wouldn't be surprised, but I do have Satan getting the W here, continuing their win streak and getting one step closer to the postseason, which I'm sure will be interesting. But right now, I got the Vikings getting the win, and Bears, ugh. And finally, you got the Monday Night Football game that I don't think anyone's going to be watching. You got the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Vegas Raiders. The Falcons, oh boy. Yeah, things have gotten really bad. Kirk Cousins has had an atrocious month of football. When the defense shows up, the offense doesn't look good. When the offense shows up, the defense doesn't show up. And it is just tough times in Atlanta to the point where we're talking about potentially benching Kirk Cousins. They're going to be taking on the Raiders, who are having woes of their own. But they are actually in that game against the Bucs until they weren't.
Wow, that turned ugly fast. Just like my trip to Tampa Bay.
Hey, city boy, what's with the arm pants?
Things are just really problematic for the Raiders. But the good news is they currently hold the #1 pick in the draft. So the Raiders, they probably want to lose this football game, but at least they can give it the good old college try. And the good news for the Falcons, this is actually a winnable game for them. I'm really disappointed in the Falcons, and I thought they could be much better this season, but Kirk Cousins has just been super disappointing. I think the team as a whole is not really gelling well, and their inability to be consistent is killing them here. However, if the Falcons can avoid throwing a million turnovers, they should be able to win this game here. And honestly, they just need to check a win off at this point because it's been a hot minute. So I'm going to go with Atlanta to get the win, but I don't think this game is going to be very good at all. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who do you got winning and losing this week? Let me know. You guys find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or TomGrossiComedy. Also, show me a see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for supporting this channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack, go.